Good evening, you stunning, stunning queens. Come on, how's your week been? How has your week been? Has it been busy, stressful, peaceful? Did you get to do something you loved this week? Please tell me all about it. You know where the comments are. I want to welcome you to this week's episode of Soft Life and Sips, where we just go riffing on a topic. And today, and I do actually have some notes here. I'm very excited about this. So these are just pointers because I'm starting to very much learn that I have an ADHD brain and I can flip from one tangent to another. So I just want to keep us, on track here about what we're talking about. So I've just got some little headings and some top points about what I want to talk about tonight. So tonight's topic is sitting in the void and honoring my season, which is currently winter. All right. Now, these are filmed off the cuff, no editing. So I've got a little doggy just down off screen here. Hopefully he's all good tonight. I have my drink in hand. I have my slippies on, because it is cold here in Australia, let me tell you. And I have a super duper, windy night tonight. So it is insane. What's going on with this fringe? Gosh, it's just so long. I don't know. Oh, no. He's bringing his toy to play. We're not playing right now, Bodhi. So let's talk the void. What is the void? What am I referring to? Now, you may know this as, so many different things, right? So my notes say that this isn't failure, but a sacred pause. But what I wanted to talk about with the void, firstly, let's identify what it is, right? So the void is when you're at that point of life. Now, I guess it depends. I feel like we all go through this, and this is whether or not we are spiritual, religious, or, whatever it is, and it's been called many different things. Maybe it's a burnout. Maybe it's a midlife crisis. Maybe it is a shamanic death. Maybe it is an awakening, like a spiritual awakening, sorry. These are things that are known as the void. And I guess what I'm referring to it as at the moment for me is that I'm calling it obviously the void, and I feel like I have been going through what you would refer to in the spiritual world of maybe a shamanic death, or maybe it is the what's the other word it's called, I've totally forgotten. The dark night of the soul. That's the other thing it sort of can be, called. And basically what this is just that. So I need to take a breath. I've just come in here with all this information I want to say, and I'm just trying to rush it instead of just gathering my thoughts and going for it. So like a dark night of the soul. So for me, and you'll know that I've spoken about this, or if you're joining me here for the first time, that I definitely went, I've had a shit year. It's been I burn it to the ground, set it alight, dumpster fire of a year. Of course, so sorry. Of course my dog has found the squeakiest toy. Anyway. And so if you are new here, it's been a fucking intense year. And just to give you a quick little rundown, it started off with starting the year off with a shock diagnosis that we didn't see coming. My mum had cancer. So that was, that just tipped our world upside down. We didn't then move. So we've had some positive things in here as well, right? So then we also moved. So our house was built, and we moved into this house that we've been building for years. So that was really positive. I got made redundant, so that was another thing. And it just was crazy. Hang on a sec, we need to pause. Doggy needs the attention. so these, all sort of things that happen. And then I guess even more recently, I have been blocked and deleted by my darling father as well. So, it's all these things. So, and what it feels like, these things, right, is that your life comes crashing down around you. And it happens all at once too, like I feel like some of these things, like, maybe I got made redundant last year and then this happened and then this happened, but no. And I think that when we're going through these sort of things is that they happen right all at the same time, right? They happen all at the same time, all at once. And what's really hard, and it's just like it could break you, right? It's just like it could just tear you down and break you. And just when you feel like you can't take anything more, there's something else happens, right? And to me, what happens is I don't see it as a, being so close hitting the camera stand. I don't feel like it's a test from the universe. So, like I don't like that word. I don't like it when people are like, oh, the universe was testing you. But I literally feel like it is stripped everything away and down. Like it's just, boom, it is gone. Like I am, it's almost like the universe has, Bodhi, please stop. Stripped everything away, like so that I've had to literally rebuild it. And I guess this is the point with the void, because I'm not rebuilding it. I'm not rebuilding it yet, right? So, and that's sort of what I want to talk about, because I think that we can get so quick to want to move on to the next thing, right? That, we're uncomfortable with staying still, and we're uncomfortable with the void. And so then what we're trying to do is we are trying to fill it and move to the next thing, and we try to rush this void. So, and the void is something that can be rushed, right? And it is about your winter and honoring your soul. So I think if you are going through something like this, is you sort of have to get to a point, like this year for me has been so uncomfortable. Everything is outside of my control. I am a control freak, and I can't control this stuff that's happening. I couldn't control being made redundant. I couldn't control my mum's diagnosis. These things were just so, I can't control how other people view me, be me. I've ended with wrestling as well, so these big things, I can't control any of that stuff. And for me, like I said, I am a control freak. So that's been the hardest thing, right? Is I've had to sit back and surrender. I've just been forced to, and to let it all just fall away and accept that. And I think that's the fucking biggest and hardest thing, especially, as I said, like I am just an absolute control freak. So for me, that is just been the hardest thing, right? And what I also sort of feel like too, right, like, is that any moment that I felt like I was like getting back on track, or, like with stuff with, with my mom, like, not that is, we're in the midst of treatment and we're doing all those sort of things, right? And that hasn't changed, but we had started adjusting and adapting to what is our new normal, right? And then, of course, and just as we sort of get comfortable, then boom, I get made redundant, and I don't know what's going to happen, and only have a certain amount of income to look after me for a certain period of time, and like it felt like every time when I want to say every time I felt like that I was getting ready, I'm like, cool, I've got this. I'm just going to like move on to the next thing. The universe is like, no. No. We are in the void, and you're staying in the void, and I will physically make you stay in this void if you keep trying to get out and not work through the purpose of you being here is. Right? So that's really how I sort of felt. Oh, God. Look at me. I feel like I'm following my notes without even following my notes because I know what I want to talk about, which is just awesome. So what I was saying is, like I was trying to rush through it and rush to the next thing. And that's a little bit, like I've openly discussed with you guys that I'm going to be exploring an ADHD assessment. And I think that is a part of having a neurodivergent brain and things like that as well, is that even when things aren't done, I'm ready for the next thing, right? Like I'm always continuously moving to the next thing. And this has been no different. And I think that this has been a lesson that I have desperately needed to learn. It is so raw. It is, people can talk about things like spiritual awakenings and all that sort of stuff. And you know what? They're not fucking pretty. All right. So I know that they sound beautiful. And at the end, yes, it is a beautiful thing. But that whole part of transformation is actually fucking shit. Like I'm not gonna sugarcoat this for people, I think that sometimes we can be a little airy-fairy about things and not realize how like a spiritual awakening or like a shamanic death or, this sort of new era sort of phoenix rising from the ashes, whatever you want to refer to it as, right? There is a point that you just need to be in the actual shit, right? Before you can come out the other side, and you need to sit in the shit for a little bit and work out what the lessons are that you need to learn. And maybe that is just about being still. And that's really why this episode I wanted to talk about, like seasons, and honoring your season, because I think that as much as, we see the seasons of the year, I think that we personally follow through seasons. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in alignment, but what I mean with that, like for me, it's just such like a representation, right? So, when I think about winter is about, I said sort of isolating and going inwards and internal, and it is about nurturing and healing and resting. Like that's very much what winter is about, so that then you're prepared for when you come out of winter, right? And so that's why I refer to, the void or whatever it is that I'm in, or whatever word, maybe you're in a funk. Like I feel like whether you are a spiritual person or you're not a spiritual person, or you're a religious person or you're not a religious person, we all have our own words for this. Like I think that this is something that transcends your own personal beliefs. Like I feel like this is something that is so much bigger than that, right? So, maybe, sometimes you feel like I'm in a funk and everything is going wrong and something's got to change and I'm sort of at this breaking point, like, and I think it's sort of funny that for me, like it's also timed, with perimenopause of just like not giving a fuck anymore, but just being at my wit's end, and my hormones are just like wreaking havoc on my body and doing all those sort of things, and then obviously making other issues really apparent as well. Hello, ADHD. So yeah, I think that it is like, we get to these sort of checkpoints or these points in our lives where this stuff starts to happen, and I don't think it happens just once. I think it happens like multiple times, right? Like you're always going to go, I'm always going through different reiterations of who I am. Like I'm at the essence, like, yes, I'm the same person, but I'm not the same person that I was a year ago. In fact, I'm not even the same person I was at the beginning of the year. Like so much has happened in the past 6 months that has just completely changed my life, changed who I am, changed the trajectory of my life as well. Gosh, sometimes I speak too quickly for the words to follow. For me to even be the same person that I was at, going into this year. So, and I think we need to honor that in people too, and accept that people change and grow. And I think sometimes we hold so much on of wanting people, we're comfortable when they stay the same, and we get really uncomfortable when people change and grow because it may no longer suit us or be convenient for us. And I think, you know, like, and we don't mean that from a place of like, oh, you know, like, we're not doing it to, you know, be mean because we don't want people to grow or to change and because it's better for us that way. But it's like the safety net of our brain. Our brain is just always looking for safety. And what is safety? Safety is what we already know and that we're comfortable with. So when things sort of change, it makes things a little bit more, you know, not comfortable for people. And I think that we can really hold on to that, but definitely need to learn to respect where people are in their life. And that's something that I'm learning, right? It's a huge thing that I'm learning is about, you know, respect, I guess, and other people and what they're going through. And, you know, I used to get so mad if, you know, like now I really have an understanding that, say, like friendships, for example, like some are for a lifetime, some are for a reason, some are for a season, you know, and that's okay. Like, and it doesn't mean, you know, you don't have to have a big blowout fight and not talk to people anymore, or, you know, because that's what I used to do, you know, and I used to take it so personally, but really it was just that other people were in different seasons of their life and going through the shit, basically, and they might have been in the void of their own life, you know, and you know, and trying to work out what's next or where to go. So, as I said, tangents back again. When I talk about this void, and I try to avoid the void, I'll be honest, I don't like being uncomfortable. I don't like not having a plan. I don't like not knowing what's going to happen next. Like, as I said, when I say I'm a control freak, I'm a fucking control freak. Like, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, fucking, you know, like, you name it, it's done. I know what I'm doing tomorrow, the week out, you know, like everything. And now I just don't. And, you know, and I just sort of said, you know, like I've had to, and I've been forced to as well at the same time, is to surrender to the void. And I was very much trying to move on to the next thing, to work out what is next for me, especially, you know, like, and I think this is a great thing as well. Like, you know, like, as you all know, like I stopped wrestling this year and we stopped having our wrestling business. And this was a huge part of who I am, who my husband is, who we are as a couple and a family, because this has been a part of our lives since 2009. So, you know, and it was sort of working, okay, cool, that's done now, what's next? You know, rather than just being. And I think that's, you know, like I was always so focused on doing. And this is where I've really gotten caught into that hustle culture and that really being busy. Because the reality is where I'm at the moment. Like, I am so burnt out. Like, I am burnt out. I am exhausted. I have been running myself on stress, running myself ragged for my whole entire life. Right? Like, that's huge, you know, like, and it's just gotten to a point where it's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't carry on this way. And I think that this is part of what I'm going through, right? Of going, you know what? Cool. Like, you know, I think for me, like, thinking about, oh, what's next now that I'm done wrestling, was like, how am I going to fill up this time with my life? You know, because I was uncomfortable being still and not doing anything, you know, like, so it's such a huge thing for me to learn, like, and for anyone to learn. And if you're there, you know, like, I don't know where you are in life at the moment, but maybe you are feeling the void, like, and you're sort of like, fucking hell, there has to be more to life than this, just this. Like, I'm just waking up, going to work, you know, one day melds into the next, and I'm doing everything for everyone else, you know, like, you know, if you're there, you know, you get me, right? And you're just starting to think, what's next? Well, maybe there needs to be a not what is next right now, you know, and it doesn't have to be like that forever. I'm not saying you just sit there aimlessly for the rest of your life, but I think there's such a power, and I think this is where I'm, it's just allowing things to come to you, because instead of forcing them, because that's always what I've done. I've always forced things, if the door's not open, I'll fucking kick it in, or I'll build a new one, whatever. Like, it just, if opportunity doesn't knock, then, I would go knocking for it, like it's just crazy, like I never sort of allowed things to happen, or to, and I think that's where I am now. And I sort of feel a little, like it scares me deep down, like, oh, what do you mean? Like I don't get to have a say in this and I've got to just, just go with it. But it also, at the same time, weirdly brings a sense of peace of being like, you know what? I don't have to have it all figured out. Like I don't have to have it all figured out. Like how empowering is that, right? Like, oh God, even just saying it just feels like this release, right? Just this like weight of my shoulders. I don't have to have it all figured out. It will figure itself out, but I don't have to have it all figured out. I don't have to stress. I don't have to worry about it. What will be, and just to let it come, right? And look, we can get, I can really diverge into frequency, and I think that this helps, because if things are meant for you, they will come for you, and you will have that inspired action, and you will do all those really amazing things. But being at this sort of level of peace actually puts your frequency and your vibration so much higher, so that stuff that you want is just going to come to you without even having to force it. So I don't think I've ever been there before. This is the moment. Oh, we're so having a moment together right now. I'm just having some this is like a huge download, revelations. This is so good. I don't know. I'm enjoying my own little TED talk here. Whether or not you are, who knows? No, I hope you are. But I think, talking about it, and what inspires me to talk about it and to talk about it, I don't care if there's one person watching this video or 100,000 people that are watching this video, right? Because if one person resonates with this because it's something that they're going through, but they haven't, been able to put it into words, or, have a safe space to be able to talk about it, or being afraid of it, or not understanding what it is, by verbalizing it the best way that I can, then, hopefully that sort of shows somebody out there that they aren't alone either, right? Because I think the void, and I think as you start getting older in life, you feel really alone. You feel really like you're not understood, and you feel like, like all this stuff is happening to you, and you just are drowning, and it's hard just to reach out to people, this year, I'll be honest, I've hardly spoken to my friends, and that's not because I don't love them. It's not because they don't mean everything to me. It's just because I haven't had the capacity to be able to do so, because I'm drowning. That's how it feels. Like I am drowning, and, it's like, oh yeah, I'll reach out to them next week, or I'll reach out to them tomorrow, or that text comes out, oh yeah, I'll reply to that by the end of the day, I'll reply to that in a minute, and then all these things sort of happen. It's just, I guess it's a little heartbreaking, but it just shows that this can be lonely, because everything is so overwhelming, right? And it's not on anyone else's responsibility. Like I totally wear that, and I know sort of where I'm at. And as I said, it doesn't mean that I love my people less. It's just that my capacity, has been directed elsewhere, in that, I've had to focus so much on my mom and finding a new job, and, settling into new routines, and just, when I have a moment to breathe, like I just want to sit still, and I just want it all to be quiet. And I think that's what a lot of this is, right? Like to me, like the world is so loud. It is so loud, and there is so much noise, and there's so much distraction, and it just pulls you in every fucking direction that you could imagine, right? And I'm at that point where it is too much to bear. So I am, and that's part of what the void is a part about embracing the winter as well, and honoring where my soul is, because you know what? My soul myself, my body, it needs to be nurtured. She needs to rest, right? She needs to go from up here and bring it down here. You know, I need to regulate my nervous system. I need to make myself feel safe and cared for. You know, this is what winter is about and what this void is about, and this is what these lessons are about. Because trust me when I tell you that if the universe sends you messages and you do not listen, it will force you to do what is needed. It'll throw something in your way, like it'll force you to slow. You know, when you're like getting really, really burnt out, and then, you know, and you just keep pushing through and you just keep pushing through, and then you get COVID or you get the flu or something big that sort of like more like grounds you on your ass, and it's like, no, now I'm forcing you to rest. This is that sort of situation, let me tell you. So if you realize, or, you know, if any of this resonates and you're like, well, shit, I'm definitely in my winter, it doesn't mean that it is a time of full inaction. In fact, it's actually a lot of action, because sometimes doing nothing, or not doing nothing, but resting, relaxing, replenishing, nourishing, you know, these things, reconnecting, they're sometimes the things that are actually hardest for us to do, because we're so wired for quick, go, right? So slowing down means, you know, is actually sometimes a lot harder work and harder to do. It's like trying to sit still, like, not going to happen. So if that is where you are, you know, you just allow this to be time to, I like this, rest, reset, and replenish. You know, listen, take a time. We need to get comfortable with silence. You know, I think this is a huge thing, right? We are so not comfortable in sometimes our own company, in silence, in the quiet, and I don't necessarily mean physically quiet, you know, like there's not a sound in the house. Like you might have some background, I'm not talking about that. But what I mean is that we are so quick to feel the stillness and the silence with more things, to be busy for the sake of being busy, just because we are uncomfortable for standing still. Right? We're uncomfortable when it is silent. We're uncomfortable with our own company, you know, that we're reaching for to fill it with things, right? So this is what a winter is there to teach you about, you know, I guess it's like learning to love yourself, right? Learning to love your own company, learning to embrace when the moment is still. Like it should be something that is celebrated. It should be something that is embraced, especially in this fast-paced world that we live in. Because if we do not take a moment for ourselves to slow the fuck down, we are going to burn the fuck out. And, you know, if you burn out, you know, like that manifests itself, right? It manifests itself in health issues. It manifests itself in the relationship with your children and your relationship with other people. It just manifests in a really fucking ugly way in your life if you're not dealing with it. And I can tell you that from firsthand experience. So what I want you to think about is softening yourself into the void. All right, so learning to soften. You know, I'm about my little soft life rebellion. That is what I'm all about. Like, and I live it, I breathe it, I believe it. It is just about taking our power back from a world that made us so hard, right? That we had to put our walls up. We had to protect ourselves because it was just throwing stuff at us 24/7. No. We are softening, right? We are slowing down. It is about, you know, for me, like as I said to you, I'm learning to do nothing. I'm not planning the next big move. I'm not planning the next big business or my side hustle or this or that. I am just allowing myself to relax and to do things that I enjoy. You know, on Saturday, I spent the whole day in the garden because I wanted to. And it ain't your mother's gardening, let me tell you, because I'm sitting there with me rave musics on there having a great old time. But my hands in the soil, pulling the weeds, pruning back, like just, it just connects me so much more, right? But it's this slow, soft, just doing something for the sheer pleasure of doing something. But I allowed myself the time and the space to be able to do it. Yes, could have I filled my Saturday up with 1,000 other things to do? Yes, I could have. Did I? No, because it was about me and my time, right? And of course, you know, and I have a lot of time where I get to spend that with my family as well, because that is my priority. They're the people that bring me joy. They are like, it's what everything is about, right? Like, so that is a little bit of softening into it. It is about letting softness be the power, all right? So we are, if you're my generation, you are of a generation of boss babes, hustle culture, girl boss, you know, like, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that any fucking more. You know, we are soul-led now. We are soul-led. We are goddesses. We are connecting with the earth. We are connecting with spirit. We are just... No, we're just not doing that anymore. And we are connecting, you know, the main thing that we're doing, we're being intuitive and we're connecting with ourselves and about what we need. We are coming home to ourselves of who we are, of our feminine energy, and we are reclaiming that shit. That is what we're doing. That is how we're leaning into softness. Do not force yourself. So do not pressure yourself to bloom. As I said, this is what I was doing. I was like, okay, cool. I've done the breakdown now, and let's rise up. Like, let's rise up onto the next thing. No, I need to sit here. I need to work out who the fuck I am. I need to nourish. I need to rest. I have 40 years of rest to catch up on because I've been just flitting around, you know, like I just, no, there is no pressure here. It is like the old saying with the butterfly. You have the butterfly. Well, you don't have the butterfly yet. You have, you know, he goes into the cocoon, right? And he goes into the cocoon. Well, do you know what happens in the cocoon? Because this is where we are. We're in the fucking cocoon. And what happens in the cocoon is he becomes a goo. He becomes this gooey, gluey fucking goop, right? He has to do that before he transforms into the butterfly, right? So he doesn't just go from being his little caterpillar self into his little cocoon. No, then he turns into goo. He goes, that's the void. The goop, the goo, that is the void. So you've got to go, so when I say you've got to go through the shit, you've got to sit in the shit, right? Then you can transform. And then you're allowing your transformation as well, right? Because then you transform when you are meant to, you know, like, and that's a little bit, you know, like, yes, let's take our power back. But at the same time, this is where I get to hand a little bit of power to the universe, right? And go, you show me when I'm ready, you know, like, you know, and let me be intuitive, right? And tune in with myself to know when I'm ready to come out of that void. And then, and only then, are we then coming out of that void, right? Like, when I'm meant to. When I've learned the lessons that I'm meant to have done, and then I get to evolve and transform into this next iteration of myself, this big, powerful, beautiful goddess, you know, connected to the world. Huh? I like that. Do you like that? It's going to look different for everyone too, because, you know, as much as I'm my little cottage queen barefoot, hanging around my garden, you know, wearing a pretty day dress or, having a picnic on my lawn. That's me and my thing, right? And that might not be where you are, and that's totally fine for you, because for every single person it looks different. It is individual for you and your needs and what you value most. Not what I value most, what you value most, right? You got to remember that. So, what supports me during this time? So, I think it's leaning into what feels good, right? Leaning into, tuning in with your body and yourself to go, this feels right, this doesn't feel right. So for me, I know, Saturday morning, I woke up, Saturday morning, it's meant to be sleeping day. I was up at 7 watching the sunrise. I spent an hour outside, hour and a half with Bodhi, just watching the sunrise in the complete stillness and the quiet, and watching it literally from the sun, not even risen, to coming up, out there journaling and things like that, because they are the things that make me feel at peace. They help me to be reflective. I had my journal out there. I was pulling my tarot cards. I was doing all the woo-woo things, and I just felt so fucking connected, and I felt amazing. And this is where a lot of these revelations came from too, Margie. Then I spent that time in my garden. So I'm doing these soul-led things. So these soul desires. That's what they are. They're soul desires, where I'm just like, I just want to be out in the garden. I want to nourish, and I want to plant, and I want to see that thing grow and evolve and do all these beautiful things. I want to have my hands in the soil. I want to be connected to Mother Nature. I'm just feeling drawn to those things. So I'm listening to that. If I'm feeling drawn to it, then I'm going to do it. And sometimes that is baking and, doing things in the kitchen. Like, I just want to make a loaf of bread. Well, I'm going to fucking do it, right? This is where that is. It's really about spending time, for me too. I love spending time with my family. I love spending time with my boys, and I love spending time with my mom and my mother-in-law and all that sort of stuff. So doing things, with them as well, but not being too busy. That's how I support myself. And obviously, and I've got my beautiful little Bodhi boy, for cuddles, and, he just lights up my world, right? So just leaning into those sort of things. It is definitely, do you know what? Creating rituals too. I'm going to say that, creating these beautiful little rituals, maybe you have like I tell you, I have a bath ritual, and I have my, in the morning, is waking up early, taking Bodhi for a walk, having a nice breakfast, and doing a slow morning. These are the rituals, right, that are really important to me, and that really ground me and make me feel amazing. I have my bath ritual. I sometimes, these sort of things that I make special, my little rituals, my skincare, these are just, they're what grounds me and just keeps me going through, right? And that's tuning in to see what feels good in the moment as well. It is also about saying no, slowing down, and tuning in, and when I talk about saying no, I really mean it. Start saying no to shit. So if there's something, if it's not fuck yes energy, say no to it, right? Literally, if it does not light you up inside, say no. Stop doing things out of obligation, because you feel like, oh, I have to be the good mom like everybody else, and so I have to do this PTA, or I have to, I don't know, whatever it may be, whatever it is, I'll be honest, with some stuff, because I was so burnt out, I had to start saying and pushing back, with my mum and some of her care. I'm like, this is some of the things that I can support you to this point, but, me running around and doing this and then trying to manage my job and do all that sort of stuff, I can't actually do it, and I can't do it all, and that's totally okay. And of course, she totally understood that as well. So, this is what I mean. It's just, are you doing things for other people, that cost you your health and well-being, and if there is, then you need to start just putting some boundaries in and saying no to that stuff. I cannot express how important that is. So I do want to wrap this up tonight. And I just thank you so much for joining me on our little topic. I don't know what topic will be next week. We just think of it as we go, whatever's inspiring me in the moment. These are just pure downloads that I'm just talking about as we're doing it. But I would love to know, and please leave it in the comments, what season are you in your life? Are you winter? Are you resting? Needing to nourish, feeling really tired and just, needing that sort of nurturing? Or, maybe you're a spring and you're emerging from, your winter. Maybe you've had a really down time and you've just now starting to see that light come through. Or maybe you're just like full vibrant and just like thriving in life and you are like in your full summer. Like, I want to know. I really, really, really want to know where you are in your life right now. All right. Thank you. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. And if you haven't worked out, we've got our new little formula. So, we have one shorter, more polished, very on topic, edited video that comes out per week. And that's always on a sort of topic and a theme and blah, blah, blah. And then we have this one. All right, this one comes out a little later in the week, and this is more long-winded, and this is one take, no editing, just, other than dot points, speaking from the heart with any sort of messages downloaded. So whichever one takes your fancy, please give it a watch. Please subscribe. And if you feel like this message is for somebody in your life, please share it. That is how we grow together. And, that's how us ladies change the world. All right. Have a great weekend. All right. So do something for you this weekend. Mwah.